गुड मॉर्निंग एंड वेलकम टू गाना शॉर्ट। गाना शॉर्ट में आप सबका स्वागत है। China's increasing headaches, and that is turning into a migraine. There's no let up. For quite some time, I've not done anything about China because we've focused on Iran and Israel and Pakistan and all that. And so I thought, we're looking at the strategic part and all that. And I thought it's time we had a focus on certain issues internal to China. Those daily things which happen, which affect the common man, right? And that's what today I'm going to focus on with a mix of everything else. So let's go. First thing, this is it. This is what the thinking in China is about what's happened in Iran. Says boom goes the deal. China's Iran investments under fire, but Middle East beacons. So they still see hope, but they have problems. They have problems. I mean, that's now acknowledged. And in this article itself, they say Middle East accounted for nearly half of China's oil imports. Right, and he says it sits at the crossroads of Asia, Africa, and Europe, and that's where they're losing their influence. It's a vital transit corridor for China, maritime trade routes, everything, and there they're losing influence. In fact, virtually they've lost influence. They have trade influence, but not geostrategic influence, and that has been captured by US big time. US has also pushed out Russia. So, these outside powers have an issue. Now it's coming forth within their own system. Then they say China has built deep economic ties across the region, investing in sectors such as infrastructure, energy, telecom, ports, logistics through its ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. Look, all this is part of that article which came out. This is part of that article. This is their analysis. Remember that. Okay, so the Belt and Road Initiative is taking a hit. And I think it's taken a bigger hit than what we realize. And we'll do a program of it going down the line. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He says China has leveraged economic diplomacy while carefully navigating the Middle East tapestry of conflicts, alliances, and rivalries. So they're talking of diplomatic, economic diplomacy. But what about military diplomacy? That's the final arbiter of many things. So that's gone. That's nowhere on the scene. So, look, let's be very clear. If you want to be a global power, at some point of time, you will come across all this. Okay. And if that's the case, you need to have your military power to sort out issues. For example, even India, when you go and operate off the coast of Somalia, you are protecting your oil interests. It's a you are sending Navy to say free the Red Sea channels. Pose a threat to the Gulf of Hormuz so that your oil channels, oil flow is not stopped. What is China doing? Nothing. In fact, the instances which I've read is whenever a Chinese vessel is captured, the Chinese Navy enables, a deal to get that freed, not go and do military action. They pay the ransom and get their vessel freed. So this is China for us. Okay, superpower. Anyway. Okay, then of course they followed it up with a series of articles. It says China to stay cautious. Caution is the word, not aggression, not, as Iran seeks help amid clashes with US, Israel, Middle East expert of their perspective. So China is not help. I mean, they themselves are saying China will not help Iran. And it's not now. This projects into the future. So that's where Chinese power is. Are Trump's Iran strikes a wake-up call for China on US unpredictability. So this has got them worried. This has got them worried big time. Now, what if China is in a situation in Taiwan and US reacts like this? They're very, very, very worried. Okay. So that's what one has to understand. And then there's a growing risk of Chinese companies in conflict-ridden African nations. They're all connected. The Middle East connected to Africa, Egypt, yeah. So there, a lot of things are getting hit in many of these places, and many of these African nations are conflict-ridden from not now, from long. They have their tribal loyalties, their issues, and all that. And anyone who comes wants to sell that nation away and its resources away, make money, go to wherever. And China has put its foot in there. Now oppositions have come, all that mess. And China is not able to do anything, and they're worried. Okay. Before I go further, I want to put across something. I've got, some of you. I find the number of people attending, coming on live is reduced, and I also got uh, reports, complaints from. I wouldn't say complaints. People inquiring. Look, we have subscribed to Gunner Shot. We are, but we don't get notifications. Is this true? If this is true, let me know, right? If some of you tell, and I'm going to go back to YouTube, that look, there are many of my subscribers who turned on all notifications and everything, and yet they don't get. And if you can let me know, and then I will, take the screenshot and put it across to all of to YouTube to say this, right? So please do let me know in your comments or in your chat or comments, one of the two. Yeah. So I see Prac saying yes, sir, no proper notification. So a few more, and I will definitely go back and tell them, look, this is the case which has happened, and we'll take it up because that can, okay. But Usta Bhar Chaudhary, my comment just got deleted. Yes, we don't get notification, and I think I'll definitely take this. Yeah, 1 minute. Right. Okay, I've taken. Let's see how it goes. Okay, let's get back to the subject proper. Right. So we said African company. Now there's yet another thing which has happened, and this is very interesting. I mean, this is like Cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Remember that cartoon, something like that. He says this article is very interesting. It says Cloudy with a chance of bankruptcy. US tariffs hurt China's solar firms. Look, solar panels, EVs, batteries. These are the technologies which China betted big on, isn't it? They're supposed to be the EV and the solar kings of this earth, wherever they go. But now that's a problem. Look, this is something which we have to understand about China. When there's a sunrise sector opens up, everyone goes there. Everyone goes there and starts cutting each other. As a result, that sector collapses for them. They don't stay with their own. Everyone goes to that particular sector and that particular thing. Why? Because solar panels, everyone got subsidies, and all that. Now it's all gone. And this article, I found it fascinating. So I'm going to read it out to you. You understand what's happening within China. Why are China's headaches increasing? They don't have balance. Balance nahi hai. They just blindly go after one thing. He says about solar panels. He says built as one of China's 3 new economic drivers, along with electric vehicle and lithium battery manufacturing, it is facing a double whammy. Producers are swimming in a sea of red amid a price war and supply glut at home, while tariffs are blocking access to export markets. So within China, this issue of they don't consume, so there's a glut at home. No one is buying them at home. Outside, they've been hit by tariffs. Short, sweet thing, what this fellow says. But then the interesting thing comes now. Prices in every segment of the solar panel supply chain plummeted 60 to 80% in 2024. In just last 1 year, 60 to 80% price plummeting from a peak in 2023. Okay. 39 of the nation's 121 listed producers are in the red. Losses in the photovoltaic manufacturing value chain has reached 40 billion. So this is where things get interesting. I'll get back to this. Remember this. They're all in the red, but they're still continuing to function. Why? Because of subsidies. And we'll see how subsidies is hitting the common Chinese later. Now, currently, 80% of their overseas capacity, solar wafers, cells, modules, is concentrated in Southeast Asian countries. However, due to US tariffs on products originating from these countries, nearly all the reshoring plans were focused on Middle East and Africa. So that's also not working because US is now like a radar catching wherever these chaps are relocating. Where will they relocate now? That's why I said they're running to Middle Africa. Where? To Egypt. Okay. A lot of Chinese companies are running to Egypt. From there, they'll produce and sell it to America. The story is here. Why we have to understand why America has a upper hand on tariffs. Whether in Southeast Asia, Saudi Arabia, or Ethiopia, the goal is to sell to the US. Okay, and this is from a producer who's selling these. He says the US is one of the few countries where significant profits can still be made at this stage. Other countries don't hold much significance. So you know the Chinese, you'll hear, oh, we have given a market to this place, that place, all that. Ultimately, they have to sell to the West and USA. And in the West, it's USA. If they don't sell there, they're not profitable. End of story. And that is why China is going to struggle, because China has fought with the EU, it has fought with USA, or it's in a tariff war with USA. And they don't sell much to us. Okay. Overcapacity. EU is very, clear about this thing that overcapacity of China will not get dumped in EU. Because if that happens, EU will collapse. And no one is a fool to allow China to prosper and your own industry to collapse. He says the economic overcapacity is the economic buzzword fueling Europe's clash with China. Please understand, this is something which is ongoing, part of their headaches, migraine. Okay, now these are where it is. There's been very heavy rainfall in Hunan, and this is the season where floods occur somewhere or the other in China, or even droughts occur incidentally. It's possible there's a flood occurring in southern China and a drought occurring in northern or wherever. But in central China, Hunan, there's a very heavy rainfall, and this has gone on for a week. Okay, and a huge bridge collapsed. This is as per Guancha at a place called Guizhou province. Now, what happened? This bridge is built about 3-4 years back. One rain and it's gone, and it's a huge bridge, express motorway and all that. Look, this is the picture. Now, this is the quality of Chinese construction also. We all know the quality of Chinese goods. It's not only their infrastructure which is of poor quality, their weapons poor quality, everything is poor quality. We know it's very clear. Okay, now, see, we have to understand, China boasts of a huge infrastructure, high-speed trains, all that. One thing is they have too much infrastructure, which is not going to give them any, returns. It's not giving them any returns because the people are shrinking, isn't it? And second, it's breaking. This is, what you're seeing now is in this particular county and this particular city. Okay. But it's happening all over. Every year, somewhere or the other. Now, such infrastructure which has been built with great fanfare, bridging, highest bridge and longest bridge and all, if that goes, what is the replacement? That's double. You might have built it at particular rate. Now you have to rebuild it at a double or triple that rate. So it's not so simple that everything is done easily and China is progressing and all that. These things come out, and in the long term, you're going to pay double or triple what you have invested in initially to just maintain that infrastructure, and that in the long term is going to hit your economy bad. As simple as that. Okay, this is it. These are the pictures of a city which is under water. Have a look. It'll make it a little bigger. Look at this. Same place. Look at this whole place going off. Uh, you know, cars being washed off. You look at this. Very interesting. See how floods are happening there.
Hello.
Look at water coming out of apartments. Look at this story. I mean, I'm not, and if you really look and analyze China, this happens every year at some place or the other. I mean, everyone knows China is. Look at this. I mean, everyone knows China is disaster prone, and all their buildings, everything is in those areas which get affected fast. Every year, somewhere or other, their infrastructure goes down. It's just not buildings, it's just not bridges, there's buildings, roads, cars, what people are losing. If your economy is not doing well, how do you recover from all this? You don't. And there's yet another lesson, which I keep telling. For a country which doesn't have too much infrastructure, I mean, just think. Let's look at this. Instead of this building, which is there on the screen, this huge building if suppose there was a hut out there and there's a flood out there, that hut will get washed away. That guy will somehow survive, come back. When the flood goes, he'll build a hut. He'll probably build a hut from the tree which has fallen because of that flood only. It doesn't cost anything. Replacement cost is almost nil when there's no. But what about this chaps? 20 stories gone, big bridges gone. Who'll replace? And whom does it affect? And now this is going on for quite some time. Initially, when you're making money, it doesn't matter, but slowly it's going to affect them, and it started affecting them. That's my guess. That, of course, you see, funny thing about GDP, which everyone needs to understand. It's if a building goes down, it's okay. I mean, it doesn't count to GDP. But when you build it up back, it contributes to your GDP. So this GDP is a false metric. To a large extent, GDP is a false metric. Already there are indications which say, no, China will achieve their 5% GDP. Oh, beforehand itself, he's put his GDP, that can't fall. So this faking themselves is going on. And I think, people have understood it. Okay. Now, when all this disaster, was happening, they're busy sacking. This Mia Hua, who's been off his chair for the past from November onwards, now finally he's been taken off officially. He's been put on the rack. Not only that, there's a nuclear scientist also there. Of course, there are news coming out that Zhang Yuxia is now vying for power. Suddenly, Hu Jintao's son is coming. He's being made up because Hu Jintao is very old. He wants his son to now become the next whatever. Xi Jinping, people say he's not well. All that. There are two guys from Xi Jinping's coterie, Ding Zhuang and one more guy, who are also started vying for power. So there's a full-blown power struggle going on today in China. Just think, full-blown power struggle. Your PLA is weak. Every day someone is getting sacked. You're getting floods. You're being marginalized. Your technology is not working. What is working in China? That's why I said headaches are increasing. Xi Jinping can keep putting his finger on his head. Nothing will happen. Now, if all this was not enough, foreigners who have invested in China for a long time are going. This is from Kexen. Kexen is their economic thing. What does it say? Nike to cut China footwear output. Because Nike says, I'm not going to pay tariff. You pay. So Nike is pulling out. They'll go and produce it somewhere else. They're not interested in producing in China anymore. Starbucks pulling out. They say, we're not going to compete in China. Why? Because the Chinese are no more able to afford Starbucks. There are cheaper alternatives today available in China. Fine. Let them drink cheaper coffee, so Starbucks is pulling out. But when companies like Starbucks, companies like Nike, Apple anyway has gone, many of these are going away. So China is internalizing with cheaper alternatives, and those cheaper alternatives are not working. What you can export is not working. What you have need from international listing is not working. What is working? That's the point. And then here is this from Kexen. He says, what's behind yuan stalling global ascent? The yuan is losing value. Everyone says de-dollarization and you put Chinese currency. Okay, de-dollarization ho jayega, but the yuan is weak. It's going down. And these are all, facts which are coming not from, my own imagination. These are Chinese website. Kexen is a recognized Chinese economic website. Okay. Now he says, look, this is the graph he comes out with. Yuan's ranking is it the worst from 2020 to now. It's gone down. When you say ranking, it is -6. This is the 6th ranked foreign currency. And this is supposed to be the alternative to dollar. What dreams are these Chinese chaps living in? And what kind of a propaganda are we believing? The Chinese are worried that the yuan is the 6th in the order of merit. Okay? It's gone back to what it was in 2020. It's a weak currency. And this is going to replace dollar. And we believe it. And we believe this propaganda. That's why I say, what I do is I don't go to the propaganda sites and all. If you go to Xinhua, you go to PLA Daily, you go to Global Times, all this will come out. Oh, de-dollarization, yuan will take over. Yeah, whoa. But you go to their economic sites, you go to, their normal things like South China Morning Post, Guan Chai, yeah, whoa. You'll come to know what's their problem. US tariffs. We all say, no, tariff mein US is losing. US may be losing, I couldn't care a damn. But let me talk of China. China is getting hit badly. There's no investment. Why? Because they say, look, people who are investing in China have stopped investing in China. The American says, why should I invest in China, produce something, take it to USA and get tariffed the way Trump wants? I'll rather invest somewhere else where the tariffs are lesser. It's a matter of relativity. The price advantage. If the complete advantage of tariff plus labor plus in whatever from China, if the cost is more, why will he continue in China? The chap who's investing, he'll go to India, he'll go to Botswana, wherever he goes. So that's happening. And that's their worry. Okay. Now there is a talk. Trump has also announced, we have come to an agreement with China. If you see the fine print of what is this, they have come to the agreement of the framework as to how to conduct further negotiations. It's not the negotiation. Even for us, there's a deadline for 9th July. That is 1 week from now. Okay. Everyone says India ke saath ho jayega, but there are issues. I'll not comment on what the issues are. One major issue is they want genetically modified fertilizers and seeds to be entering India. The moment that happens, GM seeds, we are finished. Earlier also we didn't agree. Today also we shouldn't agree. If we agree, Mr. Modi will get voted out. I'm telling you now. The farmers will throw him out. Okay. GM seeds will be the death knell of our agriculture. Everyone knows it. The cost will become so high, and it will kill out all marginal farmers and all that, and whole lot. That's a different thing. Okay, so this agreement which has been reached between USA is only a framework agreement. Let's see where it goes further. And when all this is happening, today I think or tomorrow the Quad ministers are meeting in USA. That's a different thing. What's going to happen in that or not? I have grave doubts about it. But look at it from a Chinese angle. What is the Chinese viewpoint on all this nonsense? They're worried. They've just lost influence in Middle East. North America and the Americas, anyway, they're being kicked out. Okay. What is left? Their influence is in the Indo-Pacific. Not even Indo-Pacific, some in the Pacific. And for that, suddenly Marco Rubio says, I'm going to hold a Quad meeting. Okay. So it worries them. And that's why all this comes. Okay, now let's switch to property. Today is a potpourri. A lot of things which across the headache can come from different directions. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to highlight. Potpourri of Chinese headache. Property. Goldman Sachs says property slump could extend into 2027. The prices are dropping. So whenever you see things like, oh, prices are not dropping, property is recovering, just forget it. Just forget it. My way of looking at it after analyzing China's property sector for so long is very simple. Very, very simple. This is going to go up to 2030. They're not going to come out of it. And they're going to have problems. Okay. Of course, once in a while you get reports that China is stepping in and doing something, but so far I have not seen anything great being done. Okay, staying on property, what's happening in USA? USA is banning Chinese people from buying property in their country. One state, Texas, are already banned. See, they signed legally Chinese citizens can't buy property in Texas. This was a trend 2-3 years back. A lot of people from China went to USA with money and bought flats, property, everything. And this I can tell you from first-hand experience. Because 2 years back, I was in USA when I checked, for some other reason. I was interacting with a property guy. A few of our techies wanted to go and buy property and check and all that. So I went along with them, sitting, watching. And that fellow was saying, today the property prices are very high because the Chinese are coming with money, hot money, and buying, and they're not bothered about how much it costs. That was about 2-3 years back. So that was squeezing the local people, and obviously, politically, people are now reacting that Chinese can't buy, so that the property market in USA cools down, and the normal US citizen can buy this property. So this is happening. Okay, this is yet another facet of what's happening in China. We all know this is, look, the heading is something like this: giving up seats to elderly should be an easy decision in China. What's this about? In this article, the author explains, in buses and metros and all, where young people are not helping the elderly. They've described 2-3 cases where a young chap is sitting and doing with his video, whatever he's doing on his mobile phone. An old man is standing, 80 plus. He says, "Can you help me I'm not interested in helping you. Can you give me a seat? Get lost. Old ladies are not being helped. In this video, they discuss why. Why is this happening? There's a social revulsion to each other. That's what he talks. And why? Because this is a country which doesn't have uncles, aunties, brothers, sisters. So all this generation in China is single man, each for himself. If I'm the only person, I will look only out for myself. Why should I bother about others? That's what's happening. So this is a country which is slowly not only losing market value, economy, all that, where the people are not bothered about the other. I mean, I can't, for my sense, imagine that happening in India. It might be an odd case, but it won't be that this will come up. In any sensible country, you will find people, old people being helped, the blind being, you take them across the road, give them a lift, give them a seat. That's the minimum. I've seen people doing that to me. I'm fit and fine, but seeing my age and all that, I have had the pleasure of thanking young Indians who says, "Uncle, come and sit down." That civic sense is vanishing. And that is bad for the society. It bodes ill for a society. Okay. And then nursing homes are filing. Today, the latest, Ponzi schemes are the nursing homes for the elderly. And this comes in a tabloid like Guancha. You have to take note of it. He says, terms of nursing home management, we have fallen into a misunderstanding. Of course, the heading and all is a translation of what is there in Chinese. So it just gives you what is there in Chinese in this thing. But you go through this article, the Chinese nursing homes promise a lot to the old people, as per this article. Old people go there, they give their savings, whatever it is, to that management system. And that management system defrauds them and gives them nothing. And they're ill-treated in these nursing homes. So there's a Ponzi scheme. You see, that's why I said the Chinese state doesn't look after its own people. And the guys the private sector people are defrauding these old people. And China's old age population is increasing rapidly. It's already 25%. In fact, I think I told all of you, in a few years, 50% of Chinese population will be above 50 years. Not very far away. The aging population not being cared, being defrauded, and being disregarded isn't great for a wannabe superpower. Look, why am I taking all this? Because they still feel of global development initiative and global security initiative, civilizational initiative. They still want to be a global power to replace USA. Whether it is Zhang Yuxia or Xi Jinping or Hu Jintao or whoever Pintao that fellow is, they still want that everyone has one common name to be number one. They're still reaching for the sky without their feet on the ground, and their feet is going away. The ground is shifting under them. Okay, unemployment is very high, and now it still remains high. Just when around this time, there are going to be 10 or 12 million more people who graduates. Last year ka backlog pura nahi hua. This year's backlog thing is going to come in. So again they're stuck. Now everything in China is compounding. The headache is compounding. Okay. There's another nice article in Guancha. It says there's a lot of work, less money, and the pressure is great. What should I do if the young cadres in the township can't stay? There are jobs, but you have to get the job at half the scale at what you got earlier. You have to work with your hand, which the Chinese people today are not interested in working because that guy is a single guy at home. He's taken care of by his parents because he's a single guy like a king. He doesn't want to use his hand and work. There's no responsibility. So he can't accept hardship. So when he gets half the pay, he's not prepared to accept it. He can't go and work. So these social ills are coming in slowly and steadily, and you can't stop them. You can't stop them at all. And you'll see this going. Okay, but 3-4 years back, when I started analyzing China from this angle, okay, from a social angle, this was not prominent. Today, I find more of these articles coming up. It's just not economic, it's just not military, it's just not governmental, it's not geopolitical. Societal changes in China are coming, and that is a thing which is, it's like water coming under the carpet. Look at this, which I told you in the beginning. Subsidies, here it comes. China expands use of local government bonds to revive struggling PPP projects. So what is this chap doing? There's a PPP project, of course, same public partnership project, where that guy has sunk money, both it's not gone away. So what are these chaps doing? They're issuing bonds out. Who buys these bonds? People at the bottom. So with those bonds, they're financing all these chaps to finish the projects, or at some times that contractor takes that money and runs away. These are problems which are happening. And that is why they're not able to subsidize anymore. That subsidy of those solar panels and all is all coming to a halt. The state can't subsidize. Why the state can't subsidize? How much can you keep dipping your hand into the common man's pocket? Rich state, poor people. As the poor people keep increasing, China is going to have more problems. China, again, this is a trade-in scheme. Trade-in scheme is also subsidy. What is trade-in scheme? To increase sales, to increase consumerism. They said, okay, you have an old car, give you an old car and take a new car. If you do that, you will get 20% off. So a lot of people did it. But how much can you subsidize? And there's a limit. They thought by doing this, consumerism will go up and all. This is typical communist way of thinking. That's not happened. Now, this is a very, very interesting graph. Have a look at it. And, very interesting graph with a very interesting thing. And this is a Chinese thing. Yeah. See this. This is 345. We'll come to it. And 181. This is in 2016. This is 2025. What is this all about? Very interesting. Just read it out so that you understand. It says condom sales have dropped from 18.8 billion yuan in 2023 to 15.6 billion in 24. In 1 year, that's the drop in sales of condoms. 17% decline. Sales of Gen G, a representative of domestic Viagra, fell from 100 million tablets in 2023 to 87.5 million tablets in 2024. That is also sales down 13.2% year on year. चाइना वाले ना कॉन्डम इस्तेमाल करते हैं ना वायग्रा इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं अभी. The number of marriages in the first quarter decreased from 3.45 million in 2016, that is it, right, to 2.15 in 2023, this much, 2.15 in 2023, right, to 1.81 million in this. The sexual regression signals a sharp decline in births. I mean, this is very interesting. There is something very funny happening in China, which we need to understand. I mean, apart from the fact the number of condoms not being sold or Viagra not being sold hits their economy and their GDP, but the fact that people are not even, having normal life tells you something about the societal change which is happening in China. And this is a thing by Yu Fixian. Of all this was from Yu Fixian only. What does he say is the biggest problem with the Chinese economy is insufficient domestic demand, with household consumption accounting for only 38% of GDP, compared to 60% in the international community. However, China's saving rate is high. It's as high as 44%. It's far above the international community saving rate of 26%. Now, some believe that encouraging people to save less, right, and boost consumption is not an issue. But according to China Merchant Bank's 2024 data, sunflower customers, who are sunflower customers? Those with assets of 5 lakh plus yuan. That is 5 lakh plus yuan means 35 lakh rupees. And they are sunflower customers today in China. I don't know how many people in India would be there. They only account for 2.5% of the total population, but hold 82% of the deposits. Their consumption is saturated. So all these guys who have big deposits and all, they can't consume more. And it is impossible for them to reduce their saving rates to consume more. They will not, because they have no thing. So there's a problem. If you see overall, China cannot consume. So China can do trade in, this, that, and all that. It can't consume. So if it cannot consume, it has to export. And if Trumpji turns the thing on and all of us say no China items will buy, then China has a huge problem. And China knows it. China knows that it has a huge problem. Okay. So it's not going anywhere. Okay. Right. So this is all I had to say today. I painted a huge picture where China is heading. I have 15, I think I did the last one about 15 days back, 10, 15 days back. In 10, 15 days back, have things changed in China? No. Things have not changed in China. In fact, things have got worse. New things are coming up. So this is what China is. This is the reality of China. And we need to keep track of it. If you see, they're still going about saying India with Pakistan. Yesterday only they held something with Pakistan and Bangladesh to open a new SARC, a SARC alternative without India or something here. They want to rope Nepal, Shepal into it. There are issues. We'll talk of that a little later. They're still trying to, do all kinds of things. In fact, today I saw an article in Guancha which says how Indian defense industry is faking everyone. Their analysis that India cannot touch Chinese stuff. And really speaking, India cannot touch Chinese stuff, because if you touch Chinese stuff, you're gone. So this thing, I think China is a system of the past in terms of growth, development, and all that. They've reached their saturation. And in many cases, they're declining. But it's a big economy still. It's still got so many people. And it still has bad intentions on India. So we read it, we understand it so that we can handle it. Right? That's what I thought I'll put across to all of you.